Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Melanie Ann, and today we're going to look at what I mean by enjoying emotional well-being and employing positive coping strategies. So in my video called Who Can Have Positive Mental Health, I propose that when we are mentally healthy, we are enjoying emotional well-being and employing positive coping strategies. So let's take a deeper dive into exactly what I mean by that. When I say emotional well-being, I'm talking about factors like satisfaction, self-esteem, our sense of mastery over our environment or a particular situation, feeling in control of our lives or a particular situation, having a purpose in life, as well as the highest predictor of emotional well-being, which is a sense of belonging and social support. So, as you consider these factors that contribute to emotional well-being, think about what happens to them during tough times. When you lose some of these in your life, how might that affect your mental health? This diagram comes from a project I did with Teach Mental Health a few years ago, and I'm going to use it to teach about what it means to enjoy emotional well-being and employ positive coping strategies. Okay, what do we call this period in a person's life? Would you call this a mental health problem? I wouldn't. I would call this a down period during the normal ups and downs of an average person's life because this low point is still within the so-called normal range and intensity of an average person's mood. You might be having a terrible day or honestly a terrible week, but you're still using coping strategies to bring you back to your average level of functioning. What might we call this period in a person's life? Unlike the first example I showed you, where it is still within the expected range of life's ups and downs, this second example drops well below that. I call this a mental health problem, where it is beyond what we can normally tolerate. That might be because our regular go-to coping strategies that we usually turn to are not helping us solve this problem, or that we are increasingly turning to negative coping strategies that are starting to seriously injure our emotional well-being. Now, let's talk about coping strategies. They can be positive or negative, and you're going to see why I have these in quotes later. A positive coping strategy might feel good in the short term, but honestly, often these can also feel difficult or annoying to practice. So we call it a positive coping strategy, not because of how good it might feel in the moment or how easy it is to practice, but because it contributes positively to your long-term health. In contrast, a negative coping strategy might feel great in the moment. That's why we turn to them as a quick fix. We call them negative coping strategies because they contribute negatively to our long-term health. So if you're trying to figure out whether a coping strategy is positive or negative for you, that's why I put them in quotation marks, ask yourself, if I use this coping strategy repeatedly and at the same frequency or intensity that I am using it now, when I fast forward my life 1 year from now, what would my health look like? Now, I love teaching this concept live because you will always have someone in the audience who says, I don't believe in coping strategies. It's more made up things by kids these days. And that's fine, because when your friend says this to you, put on your lab coat and become a scientist. Start observing that friend carefully and see how often that friend does one or many more of the following things. Smoke. Drink more than 3 caffeinated beverages or 2 alcoholic beverages every day. Overuse over-the-counter medication. Overeat or undereat. Spend too much money. How about watching more than 3 hours of TV in a day? Have angry outbursts. Taking illegal drugs. And here are some more that we might not think of as coping strategies. Withdrawing from loved ones. Ignoring or denying physical symptoms of stress. Engaging in destructive relationships. So what do all of these behaviors have in common? According to the guidelines I established in the last slide, they are negative coping strategies. So when we know better, we do better. And I want to encourage you to invest in your mental health. You are worth it. Fuel your capacity to enjoy emotional well-being by practicing positive coping strategies that serve you. What will you do differently today in service of your health tomorrow?